Hey, David, how's it going?
Very good, very good.
I like the bookshelf behind you.
Yeah, that is one of the quick office setup in my living room.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Pandemic.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're just waiting for Dr. Oscar
I'm here.
to join us in the
Oh,
room, and he
Can
is
you?
now.
Yeah, I'm here.
all right.
Hope you guys can hear me. Hello, David. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, Dr. Jackson is a versatile and innovative strategic leader with 15 years of progressively increasing leadership responsibilities. He is a translational medicine and clinical trial expert across multiple therapeutic areas, including vaccines, regenerative stem cells, oncology, cardiovascular, neurology, endocannabinoid, and diabetes. Welcome to our afternoon session of PCT virtual session. And the title of your talk is going to be Virtual Clinical Trials. How can the industry momentum be maintained post-COVID-19? Looking forward to it. Thank you. Floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Appreciate it. Let me pull up my share screen. Assuming everyone can see this, correct?
Yes, restore.
Okay. Great, great, great. So wonderful, wonderful speakers today. And thank Dr. Oscar for the introduction. And this afternoon, just want to talk a little bit about how we keep the momentum using the digital tools that we have and the digital tools that come forward. I was part of this. I've been keynote speaker on multiple conferences probably for the last couple of years. And normally when you go there and it's clinical trial set up, you may hear one, maybe two speakers about decentralized virtual clinical trials. And today you heard elements of that all throughout the speakers. I know Peter Gannon was a big advocate for it. We had Vonnie that just got to speaking, talking about the things that they already started putting in place. And so it's a wonderful opportunity now to hear where we are with this and how do we keep the momentum going, because that's important for us as an industry to really push that forward, really for our patient. It's going to improve patient safety, patient centricity, patient engagement. It offers an alternative, an extension for the standard of care that's currently in place, that the physician can really reach out to their patients. So there's a lot of positives for our patients as we as an industry start to embrace the tools. And some of the things that I want to define, because there is a lot out there, and I didn't put any particular business or technology because it's changing so fast. But for the purpose of my research, I define digital as a collection of the following technologies. So social media, online platforms. So the recruitment phase of it in itself is incredible. We'll talk later about some studies that I was part of that would have taken us a couple of years with the recruitment, especially dealing with CNS, that social media and online platforms provided. Mobile applications, wearables, biosensors, connected devices, automation, cognitive automation, cognitive technology was machine learning, artificial intelligence. All these natural language processing, natural language generation, analytics and visualization, blockchain and virtual and augmented reality. All these provide tools to be able to, what our ultimate purpose is to increase patient engagement, the safety of the patient, and also be able to get, if we're translational focused, to get it from the bench side to the bedside as soon as possible. And so these tools, you want to start exploring those to really engage that process to keep the momentum going. So really understanding what the technology is out there for you in your business, even taking partnerships with CROs that have experience at different components of it. But why now, right? So if, before that, you're talking about the R&D biopharma R&D has changed the face of disease management over the years. Yet many in the field, mid-clinical development has fallen behind in adopting digital technologies. There's a lot of companies that's still behind in this process, which have the potential to change how research organizations can engage with patients, innovate with patient care, execute processes to drive efficiencies. While data transformation is complex, it is resource intensive, lengthy undertaking, but the rewards are well worth the effort. And then why now? COVID-19. And that's one of the biggest drivers that I've heard today, is that COVID-19 has driven a lot of momentum around digital medicine, digital tools, to be able to put ourselves in this position that decentralized medicine is a reality in different components. And traditional clinical research is becoming financially unfeasible. The cost of clinical trials is discouraging both sponsors, healthcare enterprises from conducting traditional clinical trials. The cost of even a market-approved medical device for new indications in tens of millions of dollars. There's large, I won't mention any names, but there's large biopharma companies, biotech, that are offloading certain therapeutic areas. And that's a blow to our industry if we don't have enough of us moving forward to solve the issues of our patients. There was a cost reduction study using only EDC, projected for each phase of a clinical trial, multiple disease states with the use of mobile technology, and has been estimated, report by the Department of Human Health Services, to reduce cycle time by 30% and reduce cost in every phase of the clinical trial by an average of 10%. And that's huge when you talk about, again, bench side to bedside, getting it to the patient. If you're looking at 30% reduction in the cycle time, and a lot of that, again, goes to recruitment, how quickly, how fast you can recruit, and being able to put the message out there. But those are huge numbers in itself to keep the momentum of virtual clinical trials or decentralized trials going. But where is the industry in adopting these technologies? I've interviewed over 43 leaders across the clinical development ecosystem to understand the current level of adoption and how it can be accelerated. And we found that the industry has been slow to digitize its clinical development process, and the digital adoption, it just varies from location to location, from business to business, from therapeutic area to therapeutic area. Even the most advanced organization are just simply piloting several technologies in different areas of clinical development, focusing on piecemeal solutions or new tools to support existing processes. So you get these organizations, culturally is a challenge. Some of these organizations are so big, they're a company within a company, which proves challenging to try to drive initiatives that's it's going to be beneficial for the entire organization. And they'll pilot components of it like it's a software installation, but this is a fundamental change in how we do business and how we conduct clinical trials, and we really have to take it that serious if we want to really keep the momentum going. At the same time, my research also indicates that the biopharma companies and contract research CROs will need to overcome several challenges to realize the potential of digital in clinical development. Some of them just have immature data infrastructure analytics. You just can't even take in the information. It's paper-based. They got to send the case report forms in paper to the sponsor. And it leaves the door open for a lot of mistakes. You got regulatory considerations, and I think Vani mentioned that the last speaker, of how they were able to take and digitize that entire process, the clinical trial management. And again, those tools in-house, you got to have the tools in-house to be able to accept and take the feedback from the potential for these virtual trials. But we have to consider building upon data infrastructure, governance, having pre-IND meetings, engaging early with regulators to discuss new technologies, and developing a measured approach to evaluating and implementing technologies within our organizations. CROs can enable this change by advancing the digital platforms and vetting promising technology applications. And that's where, again, the partnership, the sponsor and the CRO, they're going to have the ability, most times, the flexibility, the adaptability to vet a lot of this new technology. And it's coming out fast. There are cross-industry consortiums that can help advance as a whole. The Clinical Trial Initiative, by offering a forum to share early successes. So you have companies that's very large, and then you have companies so small that the clinical development may be 2 or 3 people that's running it. And so they have a difficult time trying to balance that with, trying to get through first in human with looking at other technology. And that's where you can leverage these consortiums, leverage these CROs to be able to do a lot of the footwork, or have a lot of the expertise about what works best with your therapeutic area, what works best in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. So those are going to be things that you have to look at and map through that process. The time to act is now, and from today, sounds like it's a lot of action going on. And so I'm excited to hear about that. And I would just tell you, biopharma companies that do not pursue a comprehensive digital clinical strategy risk falling behind. There was a consulting group that's recently put out a report that if all pharmaceutical biotech companies need to be by 2030 fully integrated in some sort of process of decentralized virtual trials. So within the next 10 years, if you're not moving your organization to that point, it's a real risk of running behind. Why digital medicine? Can it be done? It's being done. It's places. Today we heard quite a few companies doing it. Again, Alina Health Group is engaging in digital medicine and virtual clinical trials, but there's one organization that Science 37, if you haven't heard of them, they have the ability, and they boasted about the success of their Nora platform, which is a telemedicine-like system that allows for real-time video chat, EDC, electronic consent. And they, according to the company, they had a phase 2 study. It was an acne treatment. It was the first completion of an interventional randomized placebo-controlled trial conducted entirely without a central trial site. There were no CROs involved in this one. There were 11 physicians covering 10 states. They did it much faster time frame than was needed in that kind of trial. And a co-founder at the time that demonstrated that this could be done, enrolling patients through Facebook, Google, taking care of them through telemedicine. It was a huge milestone, and it lent a lot of credibility to their work. So it's possible. And this company also, I'm not an advocate for them, but they also a hybrid. They can work between you and the CRO, but they have a lot of expertise. There's several other companies out there that's doing work around CROs that's doing work around virtual decentralized trials, and Icon comes to mind, ClinPal comes to mind. So there's several out there that have the ability globally to be able to enact large portions of that and at least guide your company, provide guidance for your organization to really develop that process. And I would tell you, my company is Lundbeck. We're a CNS-driven company. And so we've taken that approach and have some guidance, created an agile lab where we're in conference with CRO partners to test certain technologies, to prepare us to map out that process of what studies, what therapeutic areas make sense for 100% virtual trial. Some may be a hybrid based upon the patient population. And so you want to understand your business and not treat this like an additional piece of software, but this is an integrated part of fundamental change in how we work and do business. Here's a couple of examples. Apple Research Kit has this Empower app. And part of the work that I do is with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, epilepsy, Tourette's, migraine, pain. And the Empower app signed up the largest Parkinson's disease study in history. 10,000 patients, with 93% of them have never participated in the study. I couldn't even imagine that. That would have taken us the traditional way probably a few years. This was done in about 6 months. And so, again, the power of the technology, and 93% have never been part of it. So imagine the diversity of the patient population that several of the speakers talked about before, and that you're getting engaged because of this process that never participated. That's a huge milestone. Parallel 6, Clinical 6 is a M-Clinical platform for patient enrollment, engagement, management of clinical trials worldwide. One of the number one reasons for dropout rate when you start to move into decentralized virtual clinical trials is patient engagement. How do you still engage them? And that's tying in all of their support system around them to ensure that they are getting the support they need, talk to the people they need to stay engaged with that clinical trial. I mentioned Science 37 before, a cloud-based platform. ClinPal was the first end-to-end clinical research platform built for virtual, hybrid, and direct-to-patient studies. And then you have crowdsourced studies with Genentech and 23andMe. And actually, 23andMe was an observational study, epidemiology study that we're running virtual with for a major depressive disorder. And we were able to, in 3 months, 25,000 patients, and 7 months it took just to get the other 25 that was the control placebo group. So within 4 to 5 months, there was 50,000 patients using just 23andMe's database to be able to perform that observational study. And so the power of being able to move this forward, the momentum is in front of us, and it's all incumbent upon us as an industry to really bring it back to our leaders, if we haven't, to continue to speak to that in ideal sessions with your leadership, that this is an important piece that we want to be part of now, so we have control of our destiny as we move forward. As companies look to apply these technologies, either individually or in combination, to perform operational activities such as recruiting patients, improving adherence, capturing and analyzing data, it could, however, be useful to conceptualize digital not simply as a platform or technology, but as a way of doing things different, as I mentioned. In my view, this digital provides opportunity for 3 critical value levers for us to build the platform around. One is we can engage effectively with patients and investigators through target omni-channel interactions to meet their needs and foster loyal relationships. Innovate by catalyzing the development of products and services to drive value for patients, healthcare providers, payers, using data, innovative platform. I heard Epic being used, digital endpoints, real-world evidence, and telemedicine. And then execute efficiently by digitizing and rationalizing process to drive efficiencies, cycle time reduction, and cost savings. And I mentioned to you before that my organization, we are going through that mapping process, and that's part of rationalizing your process and seeing where the wins are, where you feel very comfortable with 100% decentralized, and components where it may be a hybrid. There was a study that was conducted by ICON, and they did a survey, and the survey was conducted to see how people felt about decentralized virtual trials. It wasn't breakout numbers, but it was about 55% said, yes, I want to be able to do it from home at my convenience. And 45% said, they would like the traditional route. So it wasn't overwhelming numbers that they wanted virtual trials, but the big takeaway from that survey was that people wanted options. Patient wanted options. And can you imagine with the work I do with Alzheimer's patients, it's very difficult to get that patient into a clinical trial at a site with their caregiver, and they wake up the next day and wonder why they're there and how they got there. And you have to go through that entire process with them in order to reduce the aggression. So, and then put that patient back in their own home and run them through the study. You get a more natural environment versus the artificial environment, which again, that survey told us that they just want options. So some may rather go there to the site, and some may not. But there's research that suggests that only 30% of the people that participate in the trial is within a few miles of that location. So you got a huge chunk of people who live more than a few hours away to get to that site or a different state. So if you consider those means and how do you still be able to get that patient the needed opportunity to participate in that therapy, then this is one of the momentum things that we have a once in a lifetime pandemic that's helped drive the focus around how do we keep things going and how do we be better at what we're doing. Again, just the overall summary, it can improve trial safety, definitely efficiencies in clinical work for the collection of data in real time, the improved efficiency produced with the technology might theoretically improve patient satisfaction, study subject retention, cost reduction to the sponsor and investigators, in addition to early reporting of adverse events might translate into safer patient outcomes. I truly look forward to the pharmaceutical and medical device companies, CROs, payers, healthcare institutions saving money, which can be better utilized with the use of mobile technologies for clinical trials. And that is the end. I think I am within a couple of minutes of time.
Wonderful. Thank you again, David, for your presentation.
Yeah.
And Dr. Oscar, if you have any remarks or if anyone from the audience has anything to ask or say.
Excellent presentation. I really love your approach to digital health. This is something that I've always been thinking about, but I see that in three buckets. One where you have mostly been focusing on, which is from the clinical operations perspective, biopharma, CROs. We have all, I think, adopted the latest in terms of the CRM approach, Viva, and all that. That is, they are really powering. They are the engine behind everything that we're doing in clinical trials and the new approach to clinical development. Then there is another area which I think is doing relatively well, which is wearables. And that could also be related to clinical operations, to clinical studies, when people are wearing something that is providing data. And I was just looking at my iPhone. There is an app called Research. And it just said that I have responded 412 questions. I think it has been over a couple of years, something like that. So I'm learning about that. And they ask me questions every couple of days. How do you feel? Did you fall or whatever? That's not a good point. A good thing if they ask me if I fall, because it may think my age is a dangerous one. Now, but there is a third bucket that concerns me. And that's where I would like to ask you a question. And this is everything related to EMR and electronic medical records, everything related to the way the data is collected out there, which is very relevant for real-world evidence, and the interoperability of that. So I agree, there is digitalization going on, but in that space, what I'm hearing, and you're an expert in the field, is that it's not working as well as expected. And it has been already going on for a number of years. It seems that there are different systems out there. And obviously that also impacts the way we conduct clinical trials. If we are not able to see the same type of information being handled by different clinical sites. What's your take on that?
Well, I would say that can continue to be an issue when you're dealing with the other clinical sites. And one of the things, and I will tell you what I know from Science 37, that NORA platform, because it's a cloud-based system, it allows those other sites to be able to integrate into that cloud-based system, and you get that one source of information and data that's shared, that's equally shared, balance shared through that portal. And so I think I would say cloud is probably the best direction to help mitigate those issues between multiple sites, being able to track the data from that in real time.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great question.
Well, if there's any other questions for David, please let me know. You can always email your questions to us or my team too. David is always usually fast at responding emails as well. So thank you again, David, for your presentation.